Hi everybody, it's City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout that I made using the October My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. And the papers and the embellishments for this month are from the Hello Pink Autumn collection from Prima. The collection not only has pink in it, but it also has a lot of lavender and purple. And these are colors that I feel that I don't work with as often. And I thought it was a really interesting color combination, and I was excited to start working with it. I started this layout by cutting out quite a few strips of pattern paper. I cut them in 1/2 inch strips, and right now I'm mounting them onto a piece of heavyweight smooth white cardstock. I used a very long ruler and I drew a line in pencil from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner. And then I began attaching down those strips to the white cardstock. I'm using ATG adhesive to attach them down. And I started from the center because I know that the line is on a 45-degree angle and I want to try to keep all of the papers on that same 45-degree angle. So I work out from the center all the way to the edge, and then I go back again and I work out from the center to the other edge again. I'm going to have a circle in the center, so I'm not going to put the pattern paper in that area. I don't want to waste any of the papers, and it's just extra work that I don't have to do because it will be covered up. Now that I have all the strips of paper attached down, I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to trim back the overhanging strips. And then I'm going to put this on my trimmer because I know my trimmer will do a better job with making a straight line than I could. So I'm just cutting them back enough that they're going to fit on my trimmer, and I trimmed everything back so that it was nice and even. Now I'm working on the circle that's going to be in the center of my layout. I cut out a large circle using my Creative Memory large circle cutter. I put some modeling paste on the background. This is the stencil that comes in the kit. I wanted the circle to have a little bit of dimension and some texture to it. And I wanted the circle to be white because I didn't want to introduce another color. There is so much going on with those strips of paper, so I thought white would be the perfect color, but I don't like to just leave paper that's just flat if it's a large area of color. This is a second circle. I also used my Creative Memory large circle cutter to cut a slightly larger circle, and I'm putting some Distress Oxide on the background. I don't have any cardstock that I thought was just the right color, so I'm using the Distress Oxide in Dusty Concord and Seedless Preserves, and I just want to make a purple border around the outside of that white circle. And I'm going to use the purple edge circle to layer behind the white circle. I'm using some milled lavender Distress Oxide to add just a touch of color to the texture paste or the modeling paste that's on the circle. I don't want to change the circle from white to a different color, but I did want to add a little bit of a hint of color. And it seems to me that Distress Oxides don't really mix together, but by layering a few different colors of purple, I was able to get the color that I wanted and that I thought matched the pattern papers in the collection. Now I'm attaching the white circle to the purple circle, and that's going to serve as the base for my photo and most of the embellishments that I put on the layout. So the two circles are attached together, and then I put some adhesive on the back of the purple circle, and I attach that down to the center of the paper with all the strips on it. And then I'm going back in with some more Distress Oxide, and I'm inking the edges of the background paper. And now I have the major elements of the background all done. I'm going to start working on my photo and the embellishments. First, I mount my photo on some white cardstock. And then I found this piece of brushed gold paper in my stash. It's just a small 6x6 inch piece of paper, and I wanted to have a little bit of gold all around the edge of the photo, so I added that behind the white cardstock. And then using some other scraps of the same gold paper, I'm cutting 1-inch circles, and I cut out quite a few of them. I'm going to be cutting these in half and then using these as scallops around the outside of that large circle. I wanted to have something to further separate the circles in the center cluster from the strips of paper that were on the background, and I thought that these would work well for that. I put some ATG adhesive on the back of each one of these half circles as I place it down on the layout. I know I'm going to have to reposition some of the circles on the bottom because they weren't perfectly spaced and I had to overlap one of the half circles on another half circle, but later on I will rework that so that you can't see it. So that I'll put the circle that overlaps in a place that is covered up, and that will make more sense later on, I hope. I've selected a number of die cuts and chipboard pieces and flowers that I want to include around the edge of the circles on this layout, and I'm placing them in clusters around the photo. I'm going to use a chipboard piece that says fall for the title, so I have that up on top of the photo. I used several pumpkins on this layout. All of those pumpkins were fussy cut out of the pattern papers. There were so many beautiful pumpkins that I just felt compelled to fussy cut them, so now I'm tucking some of them into those flower and embellishment clusters. I'm adding some of the dimensional Prima flowers to each of the clusters. I've seen Prima do this before, but I don't know if I've ever liked it as much as I do this month. They have flowers that have a print on them, almost like they're fabric, and they're printed with very, very tiny pumpkins and also with some fall leaves, and they're just really stunning. I love these printed flowers, and I have quite a few on the layout. There are some with a peach background and some with an off-white background, and I have at least one in each of the clusters. Most of them have more than one. I'm adding some photo corners to my photo. Surprise, if you've watched my videos before, you know that that's one of my favorite additions. I use an EK Success scalloped photo corner punch, and I punch out a photo corner in pink, and I ink the edges with some purple Distress Oxide. Now I'm fussy cutting a border off of one of the flowers, and then I will also fussy cut the border off of another flower. I don't mind the white borders. There are not really white, they're off-white borders on the chipboard pieces, but on these particular die cuts, the border wasn't light enough, it wasn't white, and so I didn't really think it served a purpose, so I decided to just cut it off. A few moments ago, I used a dauber that had some purple Distress Oxide on it, and I inked the edges of the paper flowers and also the pumpkins that were on the layout. I didn't ink the edges of the chipboard because I liked the way the off-white border helped to separate those embellishments from the background. So I just wanted to put the Distress Oxide on the items that didn't have that off-white border. Whenever I work with these dimensional flowers from Prima, I like to use heavy-duty gel medium to attach them down. And while I have the heavy-duty gel medium out, I attach everything else down with that as well. It's a really strong adhesive and it holds down the flowers, the chipboard. You have a little bit of time before it dries to reposition things, but then once it's dry, it holds very, very well. So while the gel medium is still wet, I'm making sure that I like how everything is positioned. I moved the butterfly that's on the right-hand side of the layout from the top cluster to the bottom cluster. I just thought that it looked more balanced with one of the butterflies higher up and another one a little bit lower down. I attached down the title that says fall, and I also added a chipboard leaf off to the left of the title. I had a couple of leaves that I had fussy cut out, so I'm just looking for some places to tuck them into the clusters. Now I'm using some adhesive and I'm attaching those photo corners down to the photo. I wanted to add something underneath the photo, but I decided those two hearts that I had there, they were just too small and they didn't have enough of an impact, so I took those away. I ended up using one of the hearts on the layout, but I just didn't think that that was the right embellishment for that spot. And as I was discussing before, I respaced those half gold circles that are along the bottom of the large circle that's on the layout so that they would be evenly spaced where you could see them. And now I'm using one of my new favorite things to put on layouts. I guess not really new, I've been doing this for a while, but I'm using some Bo Bunny glitter paste in the color Sugar. It's a transparent paste that's shiny, it has some glitter in it, and I really like the way it looks brushed on these Prima flowers. And I put at least 2 coats on each of the flowers. It dries really quickly, so it's easy to add several coats in a short period of time. Now I'm adding some leaves to each of the clusters. I die cut the leaves on some white cardstock. I used a die that I got this summer from a Creating Keepsakes convention from a booth called Tessler Crafts. I thought it was a great size, and you can either leave the large branch and the smaller branch attached, or you can cut them apart and use them separately. Once I cut the leaves out of some white cardstock, I embossed them with some blue glitter embossing powder. And I was very excited to find that I had a blue color that matched pretty well with the blue that was in the collection. There's a very small butterfly on the upper right-hand cluster, and you could see that that's the color blue, and you could see that the leaves match pretty well with that. I'm using some glue now. This is some gel glue, and I'm going around to the base of each of the leaves and I'm attaching them down. Earlier I was mentioning the Creating Keepsakes convention, and I was so excited that that was held this year. I really missed going there, and I hope that it will be back in swing again next year. It was a little bit different this year. There were a lot of different vendors there. A lot of my favorites weren't there, but I was really happy to just get to go and be in that scrapbooking environment. So as I said earlier, I wanted to add something underneath the photo, but I didn't know what I wanted to add, and then I finally decided that I was going to layer these fussy cut pumpkins under the photo, and that was a substantial enough embellishment that I felt that it went there and it was the right size for that spot. I usually only use one type of die cut floral on the background, but for this layout I decided to use 2. I have the branches that are embossed with the blue embossing powder, and I also used some branches that have buds on them. I'm just using a few of them, and I've used just a very little bit of orange spray to tint them. I add some foam to the pumpkins that are under the photo so that it will sit correctly on the background, and I add some pink pearls to each of the photo corners. Those are self-adhesive pearls, and then I started adding some regular round pearls to the clusters on the background. At first I was thinking that I would use many different colors of pearls, but then I decided that I just wanted to use teal pearls and lavender pearls. And I have the lavender pearls in lots of different sizes, but I only had the teal pearls in one size, and I prefer to have different size pearls, but I think it worked out fine. I used a lot of the really, really small pearls that were lavender, and I attached those to the blue colored embossed leaves, and I like the way that looks. That's something that I've been starting to do lately, and I like that little touch added to the leaves. So I'm putting a lot of time into deciding exactly how I want those pearls to be positioned. I glue them down pretty much right away, so I don't want to make any mistakes in where they are, although you can usually pull up a pearl if you're very careful, if you don't like where it is later on. There was a pack of 49th and Market flowers in the collection, and in that pack there were some of these very small off-white flowers, and I thought that these would be a good addition to the layout since I don't have any flowers that are this size. I'm using one flower in each of the clusters, so I cut those off their stems and I decide where to place them, and I glue them right down to the layout. I also add that small purple heart back into the layout. I put it on the title. I had a rhinestone on my desk. I glued that down to the heart, and that completes the layout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some ideas that you could use on your own scrapbooking layouts. Please take a look in the description box. You'll see a link to the My Creative Scrapbook website, and you can check out this kit. This is the limited edition kit, and all the other kits that My Creative Scrapbook has available this month. I hope that everybody has a fantastic day. I'll be back with another video soon, and I hope to see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.